Hello and welcome into the New Orleans Saints pregame show presented by Harrah's New Orleans. I'm Caroline Gonzalez, joined by my partner John DeShazier here in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, where your 7-1 Saints get set to take on the 1-7 Atlanta Falcons at noon here in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. JD, obviously, both teams are coming off of a bye week last week. What are your overall thoughts going into today's game?
Well, just on paper, teams look like they're heading in opposite directions. The Saints have won 6 straight. Atlanta's lost 6 straight. The Falcons have been struggling all season. The Saints, meanwhile, have been figuring out ways to win. The Saints are at their most complete stage of the season health-wise in terms of having everybody on the field at the same time. Sheldon Rankins wasn't on the field earlier in the season. Drew Brees wasn't on the field in the middle of the season. Then they lost P.J. Williams, and they lost Alvin Kamara, and they lost Jared Cook. Now everybody, it appears, is at full health, or at least about as full as you're going to get in the NFL. And the Saints really look good coming off the bye. Let's see if they can continue the momentum they had leading into the bye.
Absolutely. We saw 2 weeks ago Drew Brees coming back from that thumb injury. Absolutely no rust, JD, from Drew Brees. What did you see out of him and the chemistry between him and his offense?
Well, he said he felt a little bit of rust, but we couldn't tell. 34-43. That's about 80% completion rate for 373 yards and 4 touchdowns with an interception. Even he admits the interception was an ill-advised pass. But otherwise, he was phenomenal. I thought he had his touch together. I thought everything that he wanted to do in terms of command with the offense was together. Arizona wanted to blitz. They wanted to get to him. He handled that especially well, but we thought he would. This is the offense he's been directing since 2006, and he looked the part. As good as Teddy Bridgewater looked during his 5 games in the starting lineup. And the Saints were 5-0. Teddy threw for 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But this is Drew Brees' offense. He knows it better than anybody, probably except Sean Payton and maybe Pete Carmichael. So he came back in and he operated it as flawlessly as you could possibly expect for a guy that missed 5 games.
Now, Drew Brees spoke earlier this week to the media about how just because these Falcons are 1-7 doesn't mean they can be overlooked.
I think they're a much better team than 1-7. Absolutely. They've got some very good players. They have some very explosive players. They're not too far from where they were a couple years ago when they were, going to the Super Bowl or going to the playoffs. So they're extremely dangerous. We know what they're capable of, and we also know. Listen, it's a divisional game. There's a rivalry there because they're in the division and because they're a team that we have a lot of respect for, and we know what they can do.
JD, we know Michael Thomas leads the league in receiving right now, and he's been playing fantastic for the Saints. But Alvin Kamara will return for the Saints this week. What do you expect to see out of him? Well,
hopefully he's fresh. He's been out for 3 weeks. He missed 2 games, and he had the bye week. Hopefully he's healed up. He says he feels fine. We know when Alvin is right, he is, to me, the best running back in the NFL because of his versatility in the passing game and the run game. The Saints functioned extremely well without him. Latavius Murray had back-to-back 30-touch games, and no Saint had that since Deuce McAllister way back when. First back-to-back 30-touch games of Latavius Murray's career, and he was phenomenal. But now you get Alvin Kamara back, and he gives you that added dimension.
Absolutely. Now, Alvin Kamara spoke earlier this week about sharing the load with Latavius Murray.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, me and Latavius I had a conversation with him it was early in the season, I think probably like the 2nd or 3rd game, and I was telling him, like, just because of the balance of the plays, I was like, man, it's going to balance out. Like, it's going to eventually balance out. And he was like, I'm good. I think it's an unselfish team. He was like, I'm good. I'm not tripping. I'm like, I'm telling you, it's going to balance out. Like, when we get down this stretch, and it's going to be even more effective. So, however it shakes out, it shakes out. I'm ready. It's not like I'm selfish. I don't need the ball every play. I mean, he's fully capable too. So I think we get a good balance going. I mean, it's going to be hard to stop.
Now, JD, we know the Saints have a high-powered offense, but so do the Falcons. But the Saints defense has been playing phenomenally so far over the past couple of weeks. What do you expect to see out of the Saints defense today going against this high-powered Falcons offense?
Well, the Falcons aren't scoring well this year, only about 20 points a game. But the offense is still the same. You got Matt Ryan at quarterback. He's a former Pro Bowler and also a former MVP. You got Julio Jones at receiver, and many people believe Julio Jones, regardless of numbers, is the best receiver in the league. They've got Austin Hooper at tight end. He's having a phenomenal year. They got Calvin Ridley at the other receiver spot. They've got Devontae Freeman at running back. So they've got a lot of weapons. They lead the league in passing yards a game, 317 per game. So They've been able to move the ball. Getting the ball in the end zone has been their issue, but they've been able to move the ball up and down the field, and we expect them to come out and throw it some around the field today.
And Matt Ryan coming back from an ankle injury, correct? So we expect that Falcons offense to be high-powered and ready to go. Now, Sheldon Rankins, who is the leader for the Saints defense, spoke earlier in this week about going against the Falcons.
I guess it goes back to just going about business as usual. Not trying to come in here and do too much, or not coming in here and hanging your hats on what you've done, prior to the bye. All that, means nothing. It's like a whole new season. So for us, it's just about doing what we've always done, business as usual. Coming in here, getting to work, banging the tape, making sure guys are locked in, ready, focused, and making sure when Sunday kicks off, guys have a great understanding of what we need to go out and execute, and they go out and do that.
JD, any other thoughts on the Saints defense going into today's game?
Well, we mentioned the Saints pass defense. Just think about this. During the last 5 games, 193 yards allowed, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 14 sacks. So they've really gotten it together in pass defense, but they've been phenomenal against the run also. That same 5-game stretch, they're only allowing 54 yards a game, 3.2 yards per carry. So the Saints have really found a groove defensively.
I'm glad you didn't have to keep all those numbers in your head. Now, something we're not accustomed to saying is special teams has kind of been a struggle so far as far as Will Lutz is concerned. He's 3 of 6 over the last 2 weeks in field goal attempts. What do you think he's corrected so far in the bye week?
Well, there's always snap, hole, kick execution that they can probably clean up, and we've seen some flaws there. He's only, as you mentioned, he split his last 6 kicks. We're not accustomed to that from Will Lutz. He's 16 to 20 for the season, so we know he's been extremely successful, but missing 3 out of 6 is not something we're accustomed to seeing. And these games with the Falcons are rivalry games. They're usually close games. The Falcons are working on their second kicker this season. They have not had a very smooth kicking operation themselves. If it comes down to that, obviously we expect Will Lutz to have the upper hand, but as you mentioned, he's had a little bit of a bumpy road here lately.
And what are you expecting to see out of Deontay Harris? I know he's had some hiccups over the last few weeks, but have you seen that gradual improvement out of him?
Well, with him, more than anything, it's just his judgment. We know he has the explosiveness, so now he's learning better, I think, when and when not to receive a punt, when and when not to return a punt. How to fair catch a few of them and not fair catch it inside of your 10. That's not the ones you want. So his judgment seems to be better. The Saints block extremely well for him because they feel like at any time he's got a chance to pop one. We've already seen him do it once. That counted against Seattle. We saw him do it against Chicago. That one didn't count. However, the Saints like what they saw on that play. So we always expect him to have an opportunity to pop one. No better time than today.
All right, well, looking forward to today's game. Again, kickoff is at noon. You can watch on Fox 8. You can also listen in if you're local here on WWL 870 AM with Zach Streif and Deuce McAllister. Join us here for the New Orleans Saints post-game show presented by Verizon. It's the only place you can watch the live press conferences of Sean Payton and Drew Brees, or you can tune in to the Saints app. Thanks for joining us on the New Orleans Saints pregame show presented by Harris New Orleans, and enjoy the game.